Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, November 1st, 9 a.m. Eastern. We're doing this live stream for the public as well. So I'm going to do my little rundown and then interact with members in the chat room and answer questions about tickers that they ask about. So we just had some economic data come out. The jobs numbers were a big beat. We had 80K expectations and we got, I believe, 128,000. So over a 50% beat. And you can see that here on the 5-minute time frame with SPY's big reaction to it. So we're right at all-time highs first thing. Very likely to see SPY hit an all-time high today. QQQ is also looking at an all-time high. So what I'm going to be watching this morning, obviously we're looking bullish as the market is in daily uptrends and we're now testing some resistance levels. But I'm watching XLF because the recent resistance on XLF's daily time frame, we'll pull it up here on the daily chart, but we have not broken that yet. That's at 29. So if 29 cannot break today by XLF, that tells us that the S&P 500 bulls are not going to get very far through that new all-time high. If we're going to see a big bull market day, we have to see QQQ hit all-time highs, which it is very likely to do, but we also have to see XLF see daily continuation over that $29 resistance level. So for the first half hour or so of this morning, that's something that I'm going to be watching, and if XLF were to fail to break 29 and then pull back into the upper 28s or even down 2870 or so, that would tell me, okay, we're going to temper our bullish expectations today because the financial sector is not breaking out through its resistance as SPY and QQQ are. I should say, even though SPY and QQQ are. So for SPY, daily time frame, little bull flag trying to confirm today, very likely to do so, 304.55 resistance, and after that, we're going to be looking up at 305 psychological. So the dollar here is pulling back and trying to form a higher low. We've got 97.14 as our base of support. We saw the top of the bounce hit in reaction to the FOMC. That was up at $98. And now the bulls are trying to defend this support. We just bounced off of it by 2 pennies. If we're going to change the daily trend, we have to break $98 from here. Otherwise, we're going to look for a tightening equilibrium. And if that breaks bearish, then the bears keep control of the dollar. So this is pretty much the range that we're going to be watching into next week. So we had gold with a bearish reaction to the jobs numbers. A little bit of a bounce going on right now with this lower wick. And this is important to have a multitude of setups that you're watching each morning, because this morning, one of the setups that I was going to be highlighting as a top watch was a top fishing play on bull miners or a bottom fishing play on bear miners, which means looking for the potential of a resistance rejection, which if we were to reject from this resistance on these bull miners, we'd be looking for a lower high to form, and then we'd look for a higher low and a tightening daily range into next week. So we were looking a lot better pre-market before the jobs numbers as far as a nice entry off support. Just looking at pre-market here on Dust, our key support is down at, on the daily time frame, we were looking at 681, and pre-market, we were right down at that level. 682 right before the jobs numbers came out, and now we got this big bull move. So let's see, the bell's going to ring in 25 minutes, but let's see if the bulls can get follow through on Dust and if the bears get follow through on gold and silver. And if the bears are going to get follow through on gold and silver, it would mean just an hourly lower high on this bounce and then a pullback down to our recent lows. Silver looking at the same thing, possibility of an hourly lower high on a little morning bounce, and the potential of tightening daily ranges into next week. So high on gold, low, this may be our lower high, and then we would have to pull back for a higher low if we follow through with hourly lower highs and lower lows through today. So I'm going to be watching those miners. Also, let's just finish up with oil and natural gas, then I'll highlight some other things I'm watching today. So oil is a daily inside bar. We know we're looking for a daily higher low on oil because anything above 52.70 keeps that uptrend intact. The question is, have we changed the 4-hour trend? And the answer is not yet. It's a solid bounce. We've created some nice space off of 53.70, our recent low, but we still need to see that hourly trend change on oil, or I should say the 4-hour trend change on oil, for us to be confident that our daily higher low has been established. From there, the key resistance will be 56.89. Keeping in mind, bigger picture, when we zoom out, we are looking for a weekly lower high to be set on oil after a 3-4 week bounce at this point. And to be confident that that weekly lower high has been set on oil, I would want to see a daily higher low held, then a lower high, and then a lower low to lose the daily uptrend, tell us our weekly lower high has been set, and then shift focus back to the bottom of 50.97. So that's something I'm going to be watching for the next few days as well. And we've got natural gas pulling back after a pretty big breakout move. And after we confirmed that inverse head and shoulders pattern, bulls got more follow through than they could have hoped for. And now we're looking for a daily higher low to form. So again, we need that 4-hour trend change in order for a daily higher low to be confidently set, which would mean top out somewhere on a bounce, hold the low, and then see continuation. So that's probably not going to happen just today. It's going to take a couple days to play out to change that 4-hour trend, but we know to be looking for a daily higher low because the bulls have tons of space to work with, and we're coming off of a pretty significant move from those bulls over the last week. So other plays that I'm going to be watching today, looking at the tech sector and knowing that we have a bullish lean, we're going to be watching for the potential of Facebook bulls to try and hold their low of yesterday. The goal for the Facebook bulls is a daily inside bar today. That just means putting a stop to the profit taking after the gap up open yesterday on earnings. So looking at the hourly chart, we started to build a little bit of a base at the low yesterday. So 190.105 would be a key support. And if the bulls can break resistance of 193.70 today, the odds of that daily inside bar forming would increase a good bit. That would put us a good bit above that low of yesterday. And that would have us looking at a higher low being established. If we look at it on the 4-hour time frame, high of the earnings reaction, low of consolidation. Let's see if we get a 4-hour equilibrium as a result if the bulls are able to show up today. Also going to be watching Tesla. We're looking at Tesla for a daily higher low to form after the massive short squeeze breakout after earnings, a base of support established at 310 essentially, and now a daily inside bar from yesterday with a bit of a double top. Our tops are at 318.79 and 319. That's close enough to be a double top for me. And we're going to be watching those levels this morning. If we break 319, our daily higher low is established, and we shift our focus back up to the recent top at 340.84. But that would be the indication, a break of 319, that our daily higher low has been established. And there was one more I had a setup this morning before the job numbers where I was watching Netflix because we're anticipating a lower high in Netflix and an equilibrium. The reason being we've pulled back very significantly from the earnings reaction. We're looking for a lower high and a tightening, broader range into November or through the start of November. Daily inside bar yesterday. So if the market was looking weak this morning, I would be looking for a bearish entry on Netflix if we break the low of yesterday, because that would be the indication that our lower high has been set, and we would then be looking for a higher low to form after that. But because we're seeing a market bullish reaction, that bear play goes out the window because we want the momentum at our backs as far as what the broader market is doing, rather than trying to look at Netflix bearish when everything's going bullish and QQQ's hitting all-time highs. That is now going on the back burner after the bullish market reaction to the jobs numbers this morning. Forgot to do Bitcoin. We got to check in on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, we're still looking for the daily higher low to be established. So very healthy contained consolidation, declining volume. There's no red flags on this consolidation as the exponential support on the daily is catching up. Daily inside bar is forming today. If today closes with a daily inside bar, then we're certainly going to be looking for a volume and volatility spike tomorrow. And if we can change this 4-hour trend, then that's our daily higher low being established. So we've got our low, high, higher low. This may be our lower high on the 4-hour time frame. Just a tightening 4-hour range that has to change the trend bullish for our daily higher low to be established. And there are definitely a lot of people, I know a lot of Chart Guys members are scaling into positions in the low 9,000, upper 8,000 range to be looking for this daily higher low. From there, because of the size of the pullback that we've seen, I'm not going to anticipate that we're going to just see a straight continuation move. I'm going to be looking for more likely to then set a lower high on the daily in the upper $9,000 area. So let's now get into individual tickers that members are looking at. First being BA. So BA on the daily time frame was unable to break our most important resistance level, which was 350.80. And we got right up to it. We got to 350 and then pulled back. So that is the line in the sand where as long as that level stands, the bears are comfortable with being in control. And let's see where we're at pre-market. Pre-market, we're at 341 or so. So a little bit of a higher open. If we see a bear break of 339.45, this consolidation will continue. You can see there's a base of support right around that level. 338.90, 339.49, 339.22, 339.45. If we look at that on the 4-hour time frame just to see it all laid out, you can see this base of support that the bulls are trying to hold As far as resistance goes, if we can hold that low of yesterday, I would consider anything under the high of yesterday an hourly lower high. This is the hourly time frame, pretty much a straight pullback yesterday, and anything under the 345s would be an hourly lower high. So not looking to change the hourly trend, even if we do start with a little bit of bullish action, we will just be viewing it as an hourly lower high. Twitter. So Twitter had a V-shaped bounce from the lows of yesterday, and we were very beat up, bullish reversal candlestick, and you can see the volume spike and the close at the high of the day yesterday. Pre-market, a little bit of a gap up, open is coming. And we didn't consolidate clearly on the hourly yesterday, so we know we're a bit extended on the hourly time frame. First resistance level will be the high of pre-market, 30.18. Next resistance level is, we can pretty much just look back at the high of each previous day. So 30.18, then we got 30.36, 30.66, and so on. But would not be surprised at all if we see some hourly consolidation today, because it did not take place yesterday, and we will be looking for anything above 28.84 to be an hourly higher low. So because of the size of the bounce, we can anticipate that an hourly higher low is likely to form when we do top out, and it will be meaningful and telling if the bulls can then, once they do see that hourly consolidation, if we can see continuation into early next week, then we know our daily oversold bounce is underway. We zoom out to the daily and we'll just be looking for a daily lower high to then form. Netflix. So Netflix, we've got that daily inside bar to be watching. Again, not really comfortable bullish up here because I am anticipating a lower high compared to 308.75, but we're not getting the setup that favors the bears. So we're looking at an hourly trend change. This little higher low from yesterday is now following through with a higher high with this pre-market strength. And the first resistance will be the high of yesterday. And we're going to be looking to test that at 291.45. If we cannot break 291.45 this morning on Netflix, we could see a second inside bar in a row and just a continued tightening range. If we do break it, we're then looking at 293.49 as the next resistance level. But it's all about that high of yesterday resistance first thing, because if it doesn't break, we stay in a tight range. Roku is just looking for a daily higher low to form. Bulls have a bunch of space to work with. Anything above 126.41 keeps that daily uptrend intact. And looking at the hourly chart, big bounce yesterday, higher low established at the end of the day at 146.64. And the bulls first thing want to see a break of 148.59. And if we see that, that's a little hourly trend change. And this could be a daily bull flag. It's certainly very healthy consolidation at this point. We have market bull momentum at the backs of the bulls at this point. And after 148.59 will just be the high of yesterday, up at 151.30, 151.48, a little double top from the past 2 days. So bulls still hanging on, and they're setting up this morning where, unless we see the bears in the market show up in a big way with some big volume, it's looking like worst case scenario for Roku would be a daily inside bar, which just means failure to break 151.30, but still a good bit above that low of yesterday, so likely to hold it. Amazon. So Amazon did break the daily lower highs. We had a lower high at $17.99, another one at $17.90, and the most recent one was $17.88. So we broke that yesterday, but we had a big upper wick form. So that's a bearish reversal candlestick on the daily. What I want to do is zoom into the hourly and say, did we lose the hourly uptrend? And the answer is no. We did see a lot of profit taking from the high of the day first thing yesterday morning, but we did keep the hourly uptrend. And our hourly higher low is now 1773. And if you look at yesterday's action for most individual names, we held, I should say, most individual names that are correlated with the S&P 500 significantly, but we held the low of the day with a little bit of a higher low. Some names it's almost a double bottom, but a lot of charts look like this from yesterday's action. So we held that low of the day, and now we're looking right back up at that high, 1792. If we break 1792, resistance is going to be 1799, which we might as well round to 1800 psychological, and that will be a key resistance if the bulls can break their high of yesterday. Otherwise, anything above 1773 is an hourly higher low, keeping the hourly uptrend in favor of the bulls. So even if we don't see the market see a significant follow-through move with all-time highs in SPY, as long as bulls are holding their hourly uptrend, we know that they're keeping control. Apple, going to test its all-time high today. So that's at 249.75 first thing. I believe that's that number. Let's double check. 249.75. Then we're looking at a couple psychological levels, 250, 251, and then the high of the earnings reaction, which was 252.50, and that will be the only resistance level we have from there. So blue sky breakout, and I use Apple as a bit of a temperature gauge for the tech sector because I know the tech sector bulls are certainly comfortable as long as Apple, which is one of the most important tech sector names, as long as they keep hitting that all-time high, the tech sector bulls can remain fairly comfortable. MSFT is the other most important tech sector name. So the all-time high on Microsoft was hit a few days ago, and we have a tightening range forming here. Let's see if it's more clear on the 4-hour, and it is. So we've got our all-time high, low of the pullback, lower high, held a higher low yesterday, and anything under 145 keeps this 4-hour equilibrium in play. If we break 145, then it's just the all-time high resistance level right after it. And again, no red flags for the bulls as long as 142.99 can hold. So a nice 4-hour equilibrium that's looking like a resistance test is going to be coming first thing this morning. ENPH. So ENPH was an inside bar from yesterday. The bulls put a stop to the bleeding after a big dump, but they now have to change the hourly trend and see follow through. We have an hourly higher low from yesterday afternoon at 1916, and we have to see follow through over 1995 to change that hourly trend, which would then have us zoom back out to the daily and say, okay, daily bounce is underway, but we are just looking for a daily lower high. And resistance after that 1995 level will be 2038 and 22 on the dot after that. So key resistance test, high of yesterday, first thing to try and break that inside bar bullish. X. So X is looking for a daily higher low compared to 1082. And we need an hourly trend change back in favor of the bulls to be confident that that has been set. If we can break 1248, we will say that our daily higher low has been established. Actually, I take that back. That pre-market action is throwing me off. So breaking $12, we're going to be confident saying our daily higher low is now 1143. And where we are at pre-market, 1230, we are looking at the high pre-market as resistance from here, 1248. And then the next resistance after that is 1256. If we break 1256, we continue the daily uptrend. And the most important short-term support is going to be down at 1192. We can consider that our hourly higher low. It occurred during extended hours, but because we don't have anything else clearly nearby, that's going to be the support level that we use. If we cannot break 1248 after the bell rings, we'll have an hourly equilibrium setup to be watching with a tightening range. CLF. So CLF is also looking for a daily higher low to form. We have not changed the daily trend yet, so we have to hold 659 and then break 749 in order to see that trend change. We're going to be looking to break the high of yesterday first thing, which means 735 and 749 are the next resistances, with 749 as the most important, because if that breaks, that's our daily trend change. And then we're looking up at 769 and a lack of resistance after 769. So let's see what that daily trend change would do to the weekly chart. Weekly resistance is 769, so that's the next most important level. So if we change that daily trend, 769 then becomes the target to break the weekly lower highs if we can change that daily trend. LRCX. So daily consolidation underway after a big breakout. Hourly trend has to change back to the bulls in order for our daily higher low to be established. We're breaking the resistance level from yesterday's bounce attempt, but that high of yesterday is a long ways away. Anything under 277.54 keeps us in a daily inside bar. So I would expect, unless the bulls come out swinging first thing this morning, once the bell rings with a lot of bull volume, I would expect a lower high to form compared to 277.54. And then we're going to be looking for an hourly higher low after that. So we'd be looking for something along these lines. If we cannot break that high of yesterday this morning, we look for the hourly higher low compared to 267.23. Google to pay $7.35 per Fitbit share in cash in deal valued at $2.1 billion. Thanks for posting that news. So Fitbit was halted, and bulls are going to like that. That's a pretty good move up from where we closed yesterday, almost a 20% move up. And I assume we have started trading, so we're going to quickly head right under 735. So congrats to anybody that was in Fitbit overnight. That's a nice little payday. CAR. So CAR is a clear equilibrium on the daily. We've got our high, low, pretty much a double top. Now we're looking for a higher low to form, 29.12. And take that all back with this gap down open setting up, 26.95. So we have broken, and we are now in a daily downtrend, lower highs and lower lows. So the next daily support that we're going to be looking at, let's see, pre-market, we're at about 27. So 25.33 is a little daily support, but it looks like our oversold bounce is already underway, which means we're now looking for an hourly lower high to form this morning. So the low of the reaction was 25.75. We've already bounced about 4% since then. And we're going to be watching for that hourly lower high to be set. And then the question is, once that hourly lower high is set, can the bulls then consolidate and hold 25.75 to try and form that hourly higher low? But that's the kind of play where if I'm looking to play a bounce and I'm not in a position yet because it's pre-market, I would say, I missed that bounce. I'm not trying to get in on a bear dump after a 4% bounce has already taken place. So if I'm looking in any direction, I'm either going to be looking bearish for that hourly lower high or just moving on to another ticker. I don't like getting in an oversold bounce play when it's already moved 4%. QRVO. QRVO, let's see, we got a gap up open coming, big one. So that's going to put us 86.50 breaking, 86.84. Look at all those resistances in the upper 80s that we're going to be looking to break. So the all-time high is 88.35, and we're going to test that level first thing this morning, and it's likely that it's going to break. And as far as short-term support levels go, don't have a ton of liquidity in pre-market, but we can see 89, 88.50, and 86.60. So we do have a couple little support levels to go off of. If the bulls can hold $89 after the bell rings, they keep full control. But if we break $89, we lose the pre-market 5-minute uptrend, and that tells us that we could see some more profit taking on this big gap up open. So best case for the bulls is hold 89 and make their way back up to 90.50 resistance. And otherwise, if we lose the 5-minute uptrend, we zoom out to the hourly, and we will then look for an hourly higher low to form once that profit taking is done. PG. So PG is also setting up for the potential of a daily equilibrium where we've got our high of 125.77, low. We couldn't break resistance yesterday. And I'm looking at 125.45 as the most important short-term resistance. And if we can't break that this morning, we'll look to pull back. And our hourly supports are 123.70 and 123.36. So we might even get an hourly tightening range to be watching inside the daily tightening range. And if we do set this hourly lower high and consolidate this morning, then the odds of the daily equilibrium continuing to play out will increase. Although with the size of the range of yesterday's candlestick, it's pretty likely that a daily inside bar could form today. KHC. Big breakout yesterday. Trading sideways right now. Bulls want to hold 31.70, which is our hourly higher low from yesterday afternoon. If that level holds, the bulls keep complete control. And we're looking at resistance of 32.37 and 32.46. If we break 32.46, our hourly bull flag is confirmed. And the next resistance level that we would be looking at is 32.69. 32.69 and then 33.25. But a big time recovery for KHC. Look at that weekly trend change. It ended up being an inverse head and shoulders pattern. I assume it's earnings that is leading to this move here from yesterday. But we've got our left shoulder, our head, and now there's our weekly trend change. 33.25 is the most important. 33.78 is the most important level for me because if we get over that level, look at the lack of resistance up here. So 33.78 is the goal for the bulls to break sometime in the next week or two. They certainly don't have to do it right away. And when we do top out and lose the hourly uptrend, we'll just be looking for a daily higher low to form. So a very clear momentum shift after KHC was crushed. The bulls are back in the driver's seat after that big day yesterday. CTST, haven't looked at that one in a while. So CTST is looking for a daily higher low. We got our low of 77 cents, our high of 158. Higher low is trying to form at 104, but we have to break 113 and 115 today. And if we do, we'll say our higher low is now 104 and we'll be looking for a lower high compared to 158. So I would expect this equilibrium, if we do indeed see some bull follow through today, I'd expect this equilibrium to play out until at least late next week. But first things first, bulls have to break this sideways range the last 3 days bullish to turn us into believers that that higher low has been set. VIX. So the VIX is a daily inside bar from yesterday, and it's looking like we'll probably see a lower open this morning with what the market is doing right now. But 1250, 1220, 1220 is the most important short-term level because after 1220, we're looking down at 1170. And again, we're watching the RSI because the daily RSI on the VIX does not get below the mid-30s often. And we got to the upper 30s yesterday, before yesterday in that bounce, and now we're at about 40. So if we see another leg down under 1220, that daily RSI is going to be back in the 30s, and that will keep our attention as far as looking at those historical bounce levels and that RSI that has been pretty reliable in the past. So for TVIX, inside bar as well, but the gap down open is coming. So breaking all nearby support levels. TVIX is in free fall, in part due to its time decay, but in part due to the really strong market. And we don't have any support down here. So after 897, there's literally nothing, all-time lows. And this is a chart that shows you time decay. If you look at TVIX, let's pull up the monthly chart real quick, just as a quick lesson of what time decay does in a bull market for an instrument that is trading against that bull market. And we've gone from, I guess these moving averages are screwing up, but 49,750, and we're trading now. And again, that's due to reverse splits, but we're trading under $10. So essentially, we're down 99.9% over the long term. And that's the way leveraged ETFs work. Time decay is built in. Spot. So spot is looking at a gap up open. We're trading in the 145s, the daily time frame. Nice continuation. So just didn't even need to set a daily high or low, just an inside bar, bull break, and continuation. So that's as strong a follow through as you can get. And the next resistance level, we're in the 145. So we're going to be looking at 145.75 and then 149 after that. Hourly higher lows. Most important level for me is the low of yesterday. That's a clear hourly higher low during regular trading. But if we want a closer level, extended hours support is 143.06. So strong start, strong hourly trend, and bulls still in control. DIS. DIS is looking at a gap up open as well, and the bulls are doing everything they can to try and negate this weekly bear flag. The best case scenario for the Disney bulls, and the bull market is certainly helping, but holding 127.54 and breaking 133.68, which would change the weekly trend. Keep in mind, bigger picture, we are just looking for a monthly higher low to form, so it is worth watching to see what the bulls can pull off here. Most important daily resistance is 132.08. So we're looking at 132.08 resistance after the higher open. If we can't break that level, it's just a daily lower high. And if we can change the daily trend, then we're confident a weekly higher low has been established. But again, this is an example of why the longer term perspective is so important, because you look at the monthly chart for Disney and it's very bullish, and we are looking for a monthly higher low. If you were to zoom in and only be looking at the daily chart, you'd say, wow, that's a really bearish name. We're in a very clear downtrend. So the bigger picture tells me, although the shorter term time frames are bearish, keep an eye out for that to shift because the monthly chart is looking for that higher low. So we'll be watching over the next week or two if the bulls can change the daily trend and then try and change that weekly trend. TGT. So TGT has been pulling back pretty hard on the daily time frame recently. We're going to see a gap up open attempt. High of yesterday was 107.93. Anything on the daily chart under 110.48 is a lower high. So we know if we can't break 110.48, bulls aren't proving anything to us. And if we fail to break that resistance level, we'll then need to hold the low and then change the daily trend. Longer term time frame weekly chart is in an uptrend and looking for a higher low. So again, definitely a very bullish weekly chart overall, but have to change the daily trend to be confident that our weekly higher low has been established. Best SPY entry at this point, honestly, I would not be looking for a SPY entry just because I'm not going to be a buyer on a gap up open personally. We do have an extended hours resistance of 305.13 to be watching first thing on SPY, and then we've got nothing as far as clear levels after that. It'll just be psychological. But I would be looking at individual names that are not seeing gap up opens personally. I just don't like buying gap up opens. Ideally, it would want to be on consolidation, as next time we consolidate on SPY, we will be looking for an hourly higher low to form. DLTR. DLTR has lost its daily uptrend, and the next time we bounce, we will be looking for a daily lower high. Bell just rang. I'll get to the open in a second. So if we cannot break the high of yesterday, we keep up the pattern of a lower high every day for the last 7 days in a row. So 112.06 is resistance. If we can't break it, bulls are just hoping for a daily inside bar. But when we do bounce, we will just be looking for a daily lower high to form. The bears still have momentum in their favor. So SPY with the new all-time high. XLF, $29 is that resistance level I was talking about pre-market. So again, if XLF cannot break $29, the S&P 500, in my opinion, is not going to see a big-time bull day today. So that level is very key for me. Netflix is showing red, so the lead tech bear right now. We've got Apple hitting the all-time high, testing 250 psychological. So that Netflix inside bar is still in play. If the bulls can hold 284.78 support, we could potentially see a second daily inside bar, but clear weakness first thing. We've got CGC in the Canadian MJ sector still seeing weakness as well. Hourly trend change on all Canadian MJ names has to take place, and it's not a good start first thing for the bulls of the sector. And we're heading back down towards that low of yesterday. CGC support is 1942. If that breaks, it is certainly a failed bounce attempt. Currently no position, and I don't see any setup that I like for a day trade today in the MJ space. One thing that does keep standing out is TRUL in the US MJ space, very clearly stronger than its peers. So as far as the tech sector goes, we've got Facebook holding that low of yesterday. So Facebook is trying to put a stop to the pullback from the earnings reaction, and we can pretty much say that Facebook is certainly looking like a daily inside bar is going to form today with the size of yesterday's candlestick and the fact that we're right in the middle of that range. So looking at those miners, again, unfortunately, didn't get the ideal setup because of the pre-market reaction. NUGT hourly support is 30.18. So NUGT bulls are going to hope that 30.18 can hold to keep that hourly uptrend intact. So now that we've got a few minutes of trading in the morning, XLF so far unable to break $29, but it's still holding on. We're not seeing weakness there. I would need to see a new low of the day on XLF for me to say, okay, we might not see that much further upside on SPY today, and we might be in for some hourly consolidation this morning. And for that XLF support, we know resistance is 29. The next support is going to be, we would look to the gap fill high of yesterday, which would be 28.75. But it's all about the low of today of 28.90 and the resistance of $29. Certainly will give the bulls some more time to try and break that resistance. Let's see. SFIX. SFIX on the daily time frame trying to maintain the uptrend. 22.43 is support. And the low of yesterday is holding first thing. 22.83 and 22.85 is a double bottom. So a support hold first thing, and I would say anything under 23.75 is an hourly lower high on SFIX. So the bulls have work to do on the hourly time frame to try and change the trend and give us that daily higher low. Checking back in on SPY, we'll be looking for the potential of some consolidation here. Short-term SPY support will be 304.50 as XLF is approaching the low of the day, as is QQQ. Again, the two most important sectors for me. Still no bottom on CGC. NQ, so looking at NASDAQ futures, has not broken all-time highs yet. That's correct. 81.41, currently $10 below that level. NVDA. Tons of range on the first 5-minute candlestick on NVDA. Looks like we're heading towards the low of yesterday. Key support is going to be 197.81. But NVDA is standing out as a lead bear on my screen, as is Netflix, those two names. So if we see XLF break the low of the day and QQQ follow, that will only help the bears that are already showing up a bit in those two names. Netflix low of yesterday, 284.78, has already broken. So that's an inside bar bear break. But we don't have much follow through right now as the market bulls are still holding on. So again, that's an example of wanting the market at our backs in whatever direction we're looking at. So keeping an eye on Netflix in case we do see hourly consolidation in the market this morning, because then Netflix would give us our daily lower high that we are keeping an eye out for. Let's see if NVDA is giving us a 2-minute equilibrium with all this volatility first thing this morning. If we bounce here and can't break the high of the day, we'll have a 2-minute equilibrium setup on NVDA to be watching. CWeb. So CWeb pretty beat up. Daily support is approaching. 1560 is the only daily support immediately nearby. Hourly RSI is oversold. It's down at 22 right now. But there is no sign of the bulls. We would have to break the high of the day for the bulls to prove anything. That's up at 1668. And right now we're hovering down near the low of the day. So we would need a complete turnaround for CWeb bulls to show anything to us this morning. Potential bottom fishing play off of 1560 due to the hourly RSI. So we got XLF continuing to hold on. Not really seeing any clarity on XLF just yet. And both NVDA and Netflix, which were our lead bears, they're having a solid bounce because the SPY bulls are still holding on and keeping control. Looks like oil is having a good morning. So U.S. oil off to a good start. We've got the bulls trying to form that daily higher low. If U.S. oil cannot break 55.55, that's a 4-hour lower high. That might be a potential top fishing play. So that's a resistance level to be watching this morning. The hourly RSI would be getting up over 70 if we were going to test that resistance this morning. It's currently about 1% away. So that's the most important resistance to be keeping an eye on for oil. Tesla bulls unable to break their resistance, so we're headed back down towards support on Tesla. That daily inside bar from yesterday is still intact, but we're looking at the low of yesterday, 313, as support. Very tight ranges on Tesla the past 3 days. So keeping an eye on those tight ranges breaking. High of the day for XLF, or testing the high of the day. Bulls want to keep creeping up towards 29. All that will do is just add more confidence in the bulls this morning, if that level can break. So VFF is looking for a daily higher low to form as well. Bulls have to break 805 for us to say, okay, our daily higher low is now the low of yesterday, 761. So 805 key resistance, showing some green this morning where most of the MJ sector is not. And after 806, we're looking at 813 as the next level after that. So good start. Here's our hourly trend change attempt. Higher low is 773. 805 has to break to confirm the hourly trend change and confirm our daily higher low. Definitely worth watching. Again, VFF starts the morning so slow on volume, but it is holding pretty well. So X having a huge reaction to the bell ringing. That is definitely some short squeeze action going on as well. So daily higher low and higher high confirmed, 1363 resistance from here, and there's a lack of resistance after 1363, and that's a weekly resistance as well. We have now built a base of support the last 2 months at $10, and if we break 1363, it's going to be the first clear weekly shift in momentum on X in many months. So that is a key level to be watching after a very strong start this morning. And when we top out, we'll be looking for a 5-minute higher low to form on X after such a strong initial move. NVDA is having a solid bounce. So again, let's just pull up this 2-minute equilibrium potential. If we fail to break the high of the day here on NVDA, we'll be looking for a lower high, and then we'll look to pull back and hold the low of the day with a 2-minute higher low. Whenever I see a very large range in the first 5 to 10 minutes of trading, I zoom in and look for equilibriums to form within that range. And it happens very often. So the play for this equilibrium on NVDA would either be a higher low play off of the low of the day, bottom fishing that support, or just waiting for the range to continue to tighten up and then playing that break. If I am looking for a bottom fishing play off of the low of the day, it would be a red flag to see increasing bear volume. XLF still puttering around fairly sideways. QQQ near the low of the day. So again, if XLF breaks 28.90 and QQQ breaks 197.70, that'll increase the odds of some hourly consolidation in the market to start the morning, keeping in mind that we are anticipating that hourly consolidation will be healthy on many names due to the strong start. So Netflix is looking for a 5-minute lower high to form. We already know daily support has broken. If we get a 5-minute lower high, and if QQQ were to then break the low of the day, the Netflix bears would likely get some follow through. But we would have to see QQQ break that low, as XLF is now breaking the low. So the odds, we'll see if the bears get any follow through on XLF. So far, not much, but the odds of breaking 29 on XLF decrease with every new low of the day that we hit. And if XLF is not going to break its daily resistance, again, SPY bulls, not going to see a huge 1% kind of day. Let's see Roku. Roku's fairly quiet this morning, as it's usually volatile, and that's because it's a daily inside bar forming. Unable to break the highs, still well above the low of yesterday. So we may just be in for a tightening range on Roku. We only broke resistance by 11 cents this morning before starting to pull back. So if you turn off extended hours on Roku, support is 145.53. Sometimes I just toggle on extended hours, turn it on and off just to see if things stand out a bit more clear. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So likewise, in the opposing direction, we can say that these SPY bears and that the consolidation is not going to get anywhere if QQQ does not break the low of the day with XLF. So again, we're the most confident when both of those sectors are going in the same direction. And right now, QQQ is holding its low of the day just fine. Let's see if NVDA is still forming this 2-minute equilibrium. We just had a little 2-minute higher low and higher high, so that starts to favor the NVDA bulls more. So high, low, lower high, higher low, bull break. And if we get over 201.20 here, that will be a clear shift in momentum. 201.50 would be the next resistance. So high of the day test on NVDA. APHA. So APHA hitting a new high of the day. We are seeing the MJ space bounce. That's certainly helping VFF. VFF breaking the high of yesterday tells us our daily higher low has been established. APHA, on the other hand, not breaking that resistance yet. That's 513, and that's still 1.5% away. So we held support on APHA, but for the bulls to prove anything to us, we have to break 513. Uber. So Uber dropping down to a lower low on the hourly time frame. Very tight range here. So whenever I see 5-minute inside bars, I zoom in, and it is a 2-minute equilibrium forming. Just a tightening range. But as far as the daily chart goes, we double topped just under 33.89, and now 30.22 is the most important daily support. BA with a decent little start. Held the low of yesterday. Actually, I take that. Yep, we held it by 5 pennies. So bottom fish off the low of yesterday. And now resistance. I would consider anything under the high of yesterday, 345.73. I would consider anything under that an hourly lower high. But a decent hold of support first thing. Lift. Lift is looking for a 5-minute higher low after an initial bull move this morning. We held the low of yesterday. Goal for the bulls is just an inside bar. Yesterday was a gap up open and tons of profit taking. There was a bounce attempt yesterday that topped out at 42.74. The high of today is 42.72. So there's a double top at that resistance. Bulls need a 5-minute higher low and then a break of those levels. Otherwise, the bears are going to stay fairly confident. APHA trying to continue to march its way up to 513, still about 1% to go or so. So we have a scenario where the SPY bulls are just fine. They're holding 5-minute exponential support. XLF broke the low of the day by 1 penny and did not see any follow through, and QQQ held its low of the day. We've got Tesla heading down to test the low of yesterday, 313. After 313 is 310 support. Apple bulls continue to rip blue sky breakout. Again, keeping the tech sector confident as long as we just keep marching into all-time highs. 252.50 is the high of the earnings reaction after hours. I would say VFF is definitely in the lead for Canadian MJ. APHA doesn't stand out a whole lot to me. I guess it does compared to other names like Cron and CGC, still red. But VFF is much more clear. It's just the kind of thing where right now we've traded, let's see, $8 million in CGC, and we've traded maybe $500,000 in VFF. So the liquidity is not there. That's why we have significant moves in both directions. That's why it's a very volatile name, because it's so thinly traded. TSM. Resistance is 52.06. We topped out at 52.08, so it is a little double top at that level. But bull's still confident. We'll see if we can just form a 5-minute higher low on this current consolidation for TSM. QQQ has to hit 197.66 for me to consider it a gap, or for me to consider the gap closed. So there is still a little 4-cent gap between the low of today and the high of yesterday. QQQ looking back to all-time highs, so just fine for bulls. As long as Apple keeps running, tech sector should do just fine. NVDA breaking the high of the day after that little 2-minute trend change. Roku turning around its momentum. So our lead bears, first thing this morning, are shifting. We've actually seen a very impressive bounce by the miners in this market strength. Again, I keep saying it, but as long as these miners and as long as these precious metals, they can even just go sideways while the market's running strong, and that will continue to favor bulls. So the odds keep ticking higher that the monthly higher lows are set in miners, gold, and silver. And we're just watching these short-term little daily resistances. And if gold can break 1520 anytime in the next couple of days, the probabilities that monthly higher lows are set will increase even more. DDD, haven't looked at that one in a long time. So DDD daily bull flag confirmed in a huge way. And now we're looking at 938, which has broken. So now we're in gap fill territory. So a lack of resistance, and the gap to fill is 1050. Next time we consolidate on DDD, we'll just be looking for an hourly higher low to form, as we did not consolidate during yesterday's trading. So a little bit top heavy. We broke the high of yesterday, 954, only by a few pennies. If we see a new low of the day in DDD under 946, that would be a good indication that hourly consolidation may be underway at this point. A little bit more follow through on NVDA at its highs. I want to check back in on the VIX real quick to see if we've broken the lows. Nope, the VIX is a daily inside bar still forming, so it has not broken its lows yet. BA is trying for a 5-minute bull flag, and there's going to be a lack of resistance until the high of yesterday. So 345.73, and if we do not break that level, it's just an hourly lower high. GE has had a great start. We will need some 5-minute consolidation for a higher low to form. But GE, that inside bar yesterday, breaking bull over 1021. And the top of the move is 1037 as the next resistance level. BKNG. CGC is up at the high of the day. So the Canadian MJ space is slowly regaining its footing after a weak start. BKNG needs to hold the low of the day for a 5-minute higher low to form. Daily, you could say we lost the daily uptrend with this gap down open today. Zooming out, the weekly time frame's a double top at 2082. So it's a potential weekly equilibrium setup on BKNG, where we've got high, low, double top, and we're going to be looking for a weekly higher low compared to 1918. So tech sector is pulling the market higher, keeping the bulls in control. Apple's at the all-time high. Amazon's trying to make its way up towards the next daily resistance, just under 1800. Netflix bear break of the inside bar on the daily chart is getting no follow through thanks to the market bulls holding up strong. NVDA is now flexing with that follow through. That 2-minute trend change and then break of the high of the day has us looking at the high of yesterday, 203, as the next resistance level. Roku's a real nice 5-minute equilibrium. So we're going to look for a higher low to form compared to the low of the day, and our new short-term 5-minute resistance is 148.30. BA bulls confirming that 5-minute bull flag we just looked at. XBI has not consolidated on the 5-minute time frame since the first candlestick this morning, but we're heading to daily resistance 8280 key test. If that level breaks, the daily uptrend continues with higher lows and higher highs following through. If XLF can just break this $29 level, we can definitely have a big bull day in the markets today. Resistance for CGC will be the high of yesterday at 2009. So it's looking like CGC and APHA are approaching their high of yesterday roughly at the same time. Apple still hasn't consolidated on the 5-minute time frame either. As long as it keeps going, QQQ bulls will be just fine. And when we do top out, we'll just be looking for a 5-minute higher low to form. So my attention is now on Roku, just because the setup is clear. This 5-minute, if we do form a 5-minute higher low here and continue this equilibrium on Roku, it could take another 15, 20 minutes to tighten up. I would love to see Tesla stay within the range of yesterday into Monday. That would put Tesla at the top of our watch list on Monday due to an extremely tight range after a ton of volatility. We would definitely be looking for a volume and volatility spike on Tesla Monday if this tightening range does hold. FEYE. I haven't looked at that one in a while either. Daily higher low established. Due to the size of the pullback, I would be looking for a lower high compared to 1633. So we hit our high, big pullback still. A nice solid bounce from it, but looking for a lower high compared to 1633. Odds of seeing a move from 15 straight through 1633 is not likely. We would have to see high bull volume for that to take place, and we have declining bull volume, which increases the odds for me that an equilibrium is what we would be looking for. Roku key low of the day test. So there is a potential bottom fishing play. 146 is the key support. If 146 breaks here, we then have a 5-minute downtrend. And we're looking back at hourly supports from yesterday, 145.53 and 143.36. And if we do hold 146 on Roku, we're going to be looking for a lower high, probably around the 147 range. Bears win. So unable to break the high of yesterday on Roku. Now we're looking at the low of yesterday. And if 143.36 holds, we'll have a daily inside bar. But that is the next key level. and anything under 148.30 will be a 5-minute lower high. And best case scenario for the Roku bears at this point would be for the market to start some hourly consolidation, which there's no sign of just yet. CGC, V-shaped recovery right towards resistance. Low of yesterday's support held by 10 cents. Bulls have to break 20.09 being tested right now. VFF continues to be a lead Canadian MJ bull. Not sure what that dip was on XLF that I just missed. Looks like a little flash down to a new low of the day and very quick recovery. The 1 minute time frame on XLF has a ton of volume there. So that tells me that it was a real little flash down to a new low of the day. Checking the SPY 1 minute time frame to see if it showed up there, and it did as well. So that was manufacturing. What was that data at 10 a.m.? Manufacturing numbers. So that was the quick dip on manufacturing numbers that is getting bought up on both SPY and XLF. So some nice defense by the bulls. And again, as Apple just keeps marching to all-time highs, QQQ will continue in its all-time highs as well. RAD. It's funny, I just flashed in my mind, what was that other ticker that had that big daily equilibrium? And that answers my question. 964 key resistance on RAD. You could consider this daily move the last few weeks as a cup and handle here. Inability to break resistance, little bull flag, and now trying to follow through. Bulls want to see ideally 2.5 million shares traded today, and a break of 964. We would call that a bull break. And then we're just looking up at our 990s resistances. So testing those levels right now. And there goes the volume picking up a bit. There's a bull break. GDX. So there's GDX's response to the manufacturing numbers. Quick push higher and then a pullback. So again, just completely inverse to what SPY did. SPY quick dip and then higher highs. And bull miners quick spike and then giving it back now. XLF is at the high of the day. SPY bulls would love for a resistance break on XLF. Then it'll be full steam ahead for bulls this morning. NVDA continues to follow through from that. Quick turnaround this morning. US oil. So again, US oil, I'm watching for the potential of a 4-hour lower high compared to 555 as the hourly RSI heads to 70, and we're still 30 cents away from that resistance. 15-minute RSI would be in the 80s if we were to break that resistance within the next 30, 45 minutes. So there is a potential play on DWT using the US oil resistance of 55.55 as a stop. And the hope would be that we see a rejection and need a 4-hour higher low from there. So again, I would be using the US oil levels as opposed to the DWT levels because those DWT levels are going to be influenced and thrown off a bit from time decay. So a little bit of a fake out breakout on gold and miners. XLF new high of the day. Great sign for market bulls to keep this move going. As long as SPY holds 5-minute exponential supports, which has been happening since our data this morning, jobs data, then bulls have nothing to worry about. And again, with how strong we've started this morning, we'll just be looking for hourly higher lows on any consolidation. Bulls are very comfortable heading into the end of this week. It would have to take a blindsided move from the bears to change that. Nice CGC follow through, APHA breaking 513. BFF continuing its move. And XLF is testing $29 resistance. Curaleaf has been crushed past couple days. Broke the low of yesterday already, 627. Anything on the hourly chart under 652 is just an hourly lower high. So no sign of a bounce at this point, and the hourly RSI is not even oversold on Curaleaf. So we are seeing the MJ space slowly shift a little bit to green. The Canadian MJ space is stronger this morning, but not seeing much response from US MJ. So BA, we had that 5-minute bull flag confirmed with some nice follow through at this point. Again, it's just the high of yesterday. If we don't break the high of yesterday, it's a daily inside bar. So 346.06 is our resistance, and that's still just under 1% away. All-time highs continue rolling in for SPY, Apple, and QQQ. Next resistance on CGC. High of yesterday has broken, so we're looking at 2088 as the next key short-term level. Volume today on CGC, nothing notable. Let's see if the VFF volume is doing anything as it's the biggest bull move. Nope, nothing notable there. When I'm comparing volume, I'm just looking at today's current volume and yesterday's total volume. And if I really want to zoom in, I look at today's first half hour of volume compared to yesterday's first half hour of volume to get a gauge for the pace that the bulls start the day on. So XLF has a double top at 29. The bulls certainly have momentum, and they're just under that resistance right now, but everybody in the market will be a bit more comfortable if that level can break. They are certainly already pretty darn comfortable with the start to this day. Look at that turnaround on Netflix. So again, that's why we want the market at our back, because if we acted on Netflix inside bar breaking bearish on the daily time frame, we would instantly be underwater right now. But we could see no weakness in the tech sector this morning and no weakness in SPY. So that tells us don't be looking bearish when the market's holding on just fine. Currently not in any positions this morning. Didn't see anything that glaringly stood out to me. Roku bears are getting some follow through, so they're pleased with that. Roku has less correlation to the broader market than a big name like Netflix would, and that's just due to the amount of market makers that are on it and the way that the algos and bots are tied to the S&P 500. So I would certainly say Netflix is more correlated to SPY than Roku is. And today's a pretty good example of that. So yeah, I'm not personally forcing any trades. I could tell I didn't really like the setup in the MJ sector this morning as far as other individual names. Like I said, I'm not really one to be buying a gap up open in SPY. It would have worked out at this point, but just not one of my comfortable entry points. Tesla making its way back to the high of the day. Who would be a better short, Netflix or Google? Well, Netflix has the high of the day resistance, and Google is already through its high of the day. So Netflix has a short-term resistance level from today to be watching. Google has given us a daily higher low now at 1249, the low of yesterday. So I would say just the fact that Netflix still has resistance overhead, that Netflix could be looking for a 15-minute lower high. So here's the Netflix 15-minute time frame, high of the day, big pullback, bounce, but just looking for a lower high. XLF still battling 29, no clear break just yet. GME. All bull volume. That's a lot of bull volume. So I want to compare that to daily. And we've got, comparing it to yesterday's start to the morning, definitely more volume than the start to yesterday. We'll be looking for 5-minute consolidation right now. That's a little bearish reversal, 5-minute gravestone doji at the top of a big bull move. So now we're pulling back and looking for a 5-minute higher low. So the daily bounce is underway, but anything under 649, which is still a ways away, is just a daily lower high. So some temporary relief for the bulls, but bigger picture, just looking for that daily lower high to be set. Bull break on XLF. So that's the highest price we've seen on XLF in a very long time. I believe we're looking about 20 months back for the next resistance level, 2907. It's actually 13 months ago where that was hit. If we break 2907, we're then at the highest prices in XLF in about 20 months. JEC. 5-minute higher low on JEC is 94.84. Bull break on the daily has already occurred, or the weekly, I should say. The weekly uptrend is continuing. The daily uptrend is continuing. And we are blue sky breakout. So you say potential top fish. I assume that was before resistance broke, but I'm not really one to fight blue sky bulls. And I do take that back. It's not blue sky just yet. 98.31 is the next weekly resistance. So right now, I do like the setup on Netflix for a top fish with the high of the day, but I'm also recognizing the strength of QQQ and Apple and SPY. So the question I'm asking myself right now is, do I want to fight that momentum in the market? And it would make me a lot more confident in Netflix forming a lower high compared to 289.12, the high of the day, if we could start to see some sign of some weakness, or at least just some 5-minute consolidation even on QQQ and SPY. Roku Bears, great follow through. 143.36, 143.68. So a couple supports in the mid to lower 143s on Roku to be watching. And the 15-minute RSI would be in the mid to low 20s if we were to head to 143.36 on this current pullback. Mid 20s. Netflix pulling back a bit. WFC. So new high of the day on WFC. Anything above the low of the day will be a 5-minute higher low. The daily bull flag will confirm if we can break 52.36. So we haven't broken short-term daily resistance yet. XLF has, but WFC has not. So some names have, some names have not. Nat gas, USD. $250 psychological resistance on natural gas. OH, next support is 432, correct. So not much follow through for the Canadian MJ Bulls aside from VFF. And Netflix, if we do get more follow through, we'll be looking for a 15-minute higher low to form around 286 or so. Bull miners lost all their momentum on the reaction to those manufacturing numbers. Quick spike up and then pulling back ever since. So we are not going to see any consolidation in this market as long as SPY is holding these 5-minute exponential supports. Again, the strongest trends, both up and down, are when those exponential moving averages, which are the 4 and 8 period here, as long as those hold. And we pretty much checked off all the boxes we had as far as what the bulls want to see this morning. SPY and QQQ all-time highs hit. XLF broke resistance. On any consolidation from here, we're looking for 5-minute higher lows. If we lose the 5-minute uptrend in SPY or QQQ or XLF, we're just looking for hourly higher lows. So a lot of wiggle room for bulls to work with. Comes Roku's support at 5-minute RSI, getting pretty beat up as well. So both the 5 and the 15-minute RSI are in the mid-20s. And if Roku does hold this level, which it is initially, we're just going to be looking for a 5-minute lower high. But you can see the 5-minute candlestick currently is shaping up to be a potential volume climax. So bulls are defending that support level. We just held it by 5 cents. Thanks for pointing that out, Dinsey, as it was rapidly approaching. So that Netflix lower high was set. Again, 15-minute time frame for clarity on Netflix. And the bulls will attempt a 15-minute higher low compared to 284.42. Facebook was a top fishing play as well, although the bulls are attempting a cup and handle here. If this key short-term support is 193.46, if that level holds, this little cup and handle is alive. But you can see we got a double bottom at the low of the day, a double top at the high of the day. So a clear battle within the daily range established so far. Roku with a very nice quick $1 bounce off of that support. Close to being a 1% bounce. So we do have the start of consolidation on SPY, finally looking for a 5-minute higher low. So good timing for this consolidation to take place for that Netflix lower high to form. Tesla right back to the low of the day, testing that low of yesterday, 313. If 313 breaks, the daily inside bar breaks bearish on Tesla. So in trying to determine if Netflix is just going to drop straight to the low of the day or if it's going to form this 15-minute equilibrium, I'm looking at what is the range in between these levels and what does the volume tell us. So if we do not see increasing bear volume, we know the odds of breaking the low of the day on the initial attempt are not very likely. We would have to see increasing bear volume on the 5-minute chart for that to be a possibility. Biotech sector still up at the high of the day, so no real consolidation on XBI yet at this point. Clear little 5-minute higher lows on XBI. Daily resistance of 82.80 is a double top at this point. So if we fail 82.80, which we're still testing right now, we would pretty much have to break 82.48, our 5-minute higher low, for the bears to get any follow through on that double top rejection. So there is a potential top fishing play on XBI, which means a bottom fishing play on LABD. But odds would favor getting stopped out just because the bulls are still right at resistance. A more conservative bear would wait for a loss of the 5-minute uptrend before looking to top fish XBI. Fit consolidation. So what happens when you get a buyout is you pretty much see this happen and you just trade sideways. And you establish a range, but it's usually just below the price that the buyout is for. And the reason being, there's still some risk that the deal falls through. So you're not going to get the exact price of what the deal is, but you're also going to see volatility fall off the table. So current support is 712, current resistance is 720. And we're just looking for an hourly higher low to form. But again, you'll just see this sideways range establish. Because it's pretty much a magnet to that price level of where the deal is going to take place. So Netflix trying for a higher low to form. Still need more bounce follow through to be believers that that higher low can form. So again, some people like playing within equilibriums, like top fishing Netflix at the high of the day and getting that pullback. And others like to wait for the equilibrium to tighten up and then get a break. So if I'm looking for a trade midday, usually it's tight ranges from morning trading breaking is what I'm looking for. Tesla Bull still barely clinging on to that low of yesterday, 313. Check back in on that oil play, that oil resistance. We got within 30 cents. We're pulling back a little bit. Still in a 5-minute uptrend at this point on oil. We would certainly want to see a loss of the 5-minute uptrend if that 4-hour lower high is going to start potentially being set. UCTT 5-minute higher low is 2171. And bigger picture, daily chart is in full-on breakout mode. Next resistance, 2143. That broke 2195. And then a lack of resistance immediately after that. So key resistance test. And we did break it by a few pennies already, but bulls want follow through over 22 for a convincing break. Weekly chart has changed its trend long ago. It's just following through with the weekly uptrend. And when we consolidate, like most of the market, the bulls have tons of space to work with to form an hourly higher low. Anything above 1987 on UCTT will be an hourly higher low. SPY is still looking for its 5-minute higher low, as is QQQ. Again, ideal timing. This 15 minutes of consolidation was ideal timing for Netflix bears. SHOP. 5-minute support is 317.42. So still a 5-minute time, or still a 5-minute uptrend, but this is the kind of consolidation where we then have to be cautious of a right shoulder forming. So if this was the left shoulder, this was the head, and then if we bounce, we'll be looking for a right shoulder to form if we can't break the high of the day. So first things first, key support 317.42. If we hold it, but then cannot break the high of the day, that's a right shoulder forming. And we would have to be cautious of the 5-minute head and shoulders pattern. If the 5-minute head and shoulders were to confirm, we then zoom out and look for an hourly higher low to try and form compared to the low of the day. So no red flags on the consolidation currently taking place on SPY and QQQ. Again, we need increasing bear volume. We need losses of 5-minute uptrends. And then we would just be looking for hourly higher lows to form. Roku's now bounced 1% from that bottom fishing play. Bottom fishing plays are best when short-term RSI levels are crushed, like the 5 and 15-minute RSI being in the mid-20s. Tesla, look at that follow through on the break of 313. Just a quick trigger of stops on increasing bear volume. That shows us the stops triggering on that level breaking. And now we're looking at 309.97 as the next support on Tesla. So nice quick bear follow through, a quick $2 move on that break of 313. NVDA still holding on pretty well. 5-minute bull flag attempt. So as long as SPY and QQQ and everybody else's 5-minute consolidation remains healthy, NVDA could definitely be a 5-minute bull flag. So I'm going to wrap up the morning webcam here. I'll be back in the chat room in 15 minutes to continue coverage. Healthy consolidation, market bulls in full control. Tesla key support 309.97 support is approaching. Netflix still working on attempting a 15-minute higher low, but nothing convincing telling us that 15-minute higher low has formed just yet. Roku Bounce, we're just looking for a 5-minute lower high on that Roku Bounce. So again, if we're playing an oversold bounce out of bottom fishing play, we either want to be locking in. That's the kind of play where I like to lock in half profit at least, and then just set a stop for break even below the low of the day if I'm looking for that daily support to hold longer. Last thing you want to do is take a red trade at this point after that bounce took place, because that bounce is certainly trading against short-term momentum. Last one, PINS, high of the day break. Hourly resistance from extended hours will be 2064. And we are in gap fill territory, so it's just pre-market resistance levels. So actually it's 1995 is the next little 5-minute level that stands out to me. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you all have a good rest of your Friday. I'll see Chart Guys members in the chat room. Thanks everybody else for checking it out. And hope you have a good rest of your Friday.